350 days a year as a wrestler on the road.
Maybe it's a sickness.
350 days a year.
A lot of physical pain, a lot of loneliness.
You have no home life whatsoever.
Piper and me riding down the road, doing 8 balls of cocaine. I'm sure it broke up marriages.
How many guys in the wrestling business have a family left when they're done? Most of them lose it.
I couldn't have children. I couldn't put them on a turnbuckle while mommy worked.
I look forward to it, bro. You know why? Because I love it so much. It's in my heart.
When you're famous, you don't have to go look for trouble. Trouble comes knocking on your door.
I hit the bars, and that was my character.
Sitting in a room with a bunch of wrestlers doing cocaine, we really got to know each other.
I would take a lot of downers, and I did have problems with the downers.
I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I was not a faithful husband from the first day, for the whole time on the road. I lived a double life.
I needed it. It was like, I'm not getting the love I needed home.
Would I do? Oh my God, I am afraid to say I would do it again.
I wouldn't change a thing.
No regrets. I loved everything I did. I actually wish I could do it all over again.
Well, I want to tell you, to make some big money in wrestling, you had to wrestle every night of the week, $30 every day. So you had to wrestle 6 and 7 times every week just to earn your money.
350 days on the road with wrestlers, a living hell.
Welcome to VillageConnectionRadio.com's 350 Days Press Conference. Yours truly, Evan Ginzburg, associate producer of 350 Days and The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. We'd like to thank Jim Savali, our engineer and the owner of Village Connection, for hosting us. And I have next to me Darren Antola, the executive producer of the film, and on Skype, Fulvio Cesare, also an executive producer and the director of the film. Fulvio, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Thank you.
There you go.
Nice to be here.
There you go. And in studio, we're going to have a round robin of various journalists and radio hosts. And right now we have Stephen Miller. Introduce yourself. Tell us about your show briefly.
Thank you, Evan. I am Stephen Miller, host of The In Crowd, myself and Jennifer Runyon every Thursday, as well as Miller and the Rockstar with myself and Jim Savali.
And tell us about the two shows real quick.
The In Crowd is basically Jennifer Runyon and I. Jennifer was in Ghostbusters, Charles in Charge, you name it, in the 80s. She was in it. We're just chatting about whatever the hell we want to talk about. And same goes for Miller and the Rockstar. We'll have some guests in from time to time. But again, we're just chatting about what's going on. And the shows are doing really well.
And by sheer coincidence, you're a longtime wrestling fan.
I am.
And you've been very supportive of the movie. And
yes, I have.
Any questions for Fulvio Cesare, Darren Antola, myself?
Well, I'll start with Fulvio. I mean, this is quite an undertaking. I mean, logistically, how difficult was this to direct?
Well, the figures speak for themselves. It took us 5 years. We did, I think it was 22 days of shooting, 72 interviews, something like 120 hours of video to go through. It was quite the undertaking.
As far as the wrestlers are concerned, who were some of and I'll ask all three of you, who were some of the best to deal with? I mean, who were the easiest to deal with, who were willing to open up? Because I think that the fan themselves, the person who's going to be sitting in the theater, really wants to see what's inside of these guys, what makes them tick, and really how they're doing. Because I know me personally, I'd like to know some of the guys I watched when I was a kid, a la superstar Billy Graham. Like, how's he doing? What's his state of mind? What's his attitude like now? So I'm just curious, and I'll ask Fulvio first. Who were some of your favorites to deal with?
Wow, that's like trying to name your favorite kid. I used to joke with my nephews. I'd say you're my favorite youngest nephew or my favorite oldest nephew. Every single one of the people I interviewed, from wrestlers to historians to fans, people that didn't make it, announcers, promoters, you name it, they all had something. They brought something to the table. They were really interesting to talk to. Some of the highlights, definitely Bret Hart for sure, because I spent the most time with him. I interviewed him for 8-9 hours. Superstar was great. Our comic relief is Ox Baker. He was just hysterical. I loved shooting him. Loved finding people like Wolfman. He was in Toronto, and so he was kind of a bit obscure at the time I found him. So it was nice to talk to him. King Kong, Angelo Mosca, who now has dementia. So I'm so glad that I got to interview him. There was not one bad apple or one difficult one. Marty Jannetty was so much fun. Party Marty. Everybody welcomed us into their homes. It was just terrific. I can't say enough about them. I can't pick a favorite one.
Okay, I'll ask Evan the same question.
Well, I would like to thank Superstar Billy Graham for his promotional support, not only on his end, but connecting us with Hannibal, who interviewed Darren and myself. And Hannibal has a huge following, and so Superstar really came through. And like anything else, some wrestlers are more behind the film, and others, kind of faded into the landscape.
Right.
But Superstar really came through.
Darren?
I have to kind of side with Fulvio. I think everybody was great. There was really nobody difficult. I wasn't there for Canada shoots.
Right.
But everybody brought something to the table, and there was nobody that didn't want to. Nobody wanted to hold back.
Is there, without giving specifics, and again, Fulvio, I'll go to you first as director. Is there, without giving specifics, is there anybody's story that we're going to hear? And like I could say as a fan, I can't wait to see it, and I'm going to go opening night, obviously. But is there anybody's story that, that the not like really crazy wrestling fan is there somebody's story where just a moviegoer is going to sit there and say, wow, like I can't believe, like, holy moly, this is incredible. And Fulvio, that's to you.
How about Don Fargo getting shot just below the knee, but with a .22? I mean, this is while you're working. I mean, how crazy is that? Cops and soldiers go through that, but wrestlers.
Right.
All the stuff Bret Hart went through, talking about building heat in places like Puerto Rico and building it up to like almost a riot. Davey O'Hannon getting sliced by a razor blade, and his bicep hanging out there, not knowing what happened until he got back to the dressing room. I mean, it's just crazy stories that I just don't think the fans have any idea. They think it's just this glamorous thing, these guys in the ring, but their life was just, it was hard.
Okay. And Evan, I'll ask you, is there anyone, I mean, again, without giving specifics and giving the movie away, was there anyone involved where not the wow factor, as Fulvio just said, but anyone, just like, I mean, as you're looking for drama in everything, was there any one where, like, it breaks your heart a little bit to hear it? Like,
there was a very I don't want to tell the whole story because it'll kill it during the movie itself, but Billy Graham's life was saved through a transplant.
Right.
That was very powerful on screen, and he tells the whole story.
And as you said, I mean, Darren, I mean, was this a lot of fun for you?
It was a lot of fun. It really was. I think it was interesting what Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff talks about, that he had a fight really to get back in the dressing room, and he had being led to the ring by sheriff's officers. So all these guys bring something to the table.
Well, it seems like, I mean, and again, not being as wrestling crazed as a lot of other people, it seems like just from the outside looking in, and I guess all three of you could answer this, it seems like the crowds are a little more restrained now than then. When I was a kid, it looked like it was. There were times. I mean, I've seen superstar Billy Graham's posts on Facebook where one from Boston in particular, where he had to, he had the whole freaking police department around him.
Nikolai told me off camera on several occasions that they would put them on in the middle of the garden cards, Iron Sheik and Nikolai, because there was so much heat that they would sneak them out in an ambulance because they couldn't walk down the street. And Nikolai's the sweetest guy on planet Earth.
Is he?
He's the nicest guy on the planet. So it's ironic that he's the guy they wanted to murder.
Fulvio, a question for you. Have you found that a lot of the wrestlers prefer to be heels? Or do they prefer to be baby faces? Or do they not really care?
Yeah, no, I think, just like as an actor, I prefer the bad guys.
Right.
Or the ones that are, morally ambiguous, because there's a lot more to play with there. You build a lot more drama being the heel. As a matter of fact, I mean, we of all the people we interviewed that were really top heels, I mean, Tito Santana, but a lot of the other ones were heels. I mean, Ox Baker, famous, for his heart punch, and even Ted DiBiase, classic heel. I think that's what they really like. I mean, it's good to be the fan favorite, but I think it's more fun to play that character.
Evan, I mean,
I find that quite often in real life, quote unquote real life, the heels are very nice people, and sometimes the faces have ego issues. And I'm not talking specifically about the cast or crew.
Right.
I'm talking about the in general. Sometimes the faces need the applause, and the heels are having fun acting.
Right.
So,
right. Agreed. Yeah. And is there anybody who's not in the film who catches a lot of heat from the wrestlers? Is there anybody is there another wrestler who genuinely throughout the attitude of the other wrestlers who was genuinely disliked locker room wise?
I've heard back in the day some of the guys weren't thrilled with Putski because he would really hammer them. That hammer was legit. Haystacks Calhoun every so often would lay him in, maybe not intentionally, but he was a big boy, and it was painful, just physically painful.
Right.
In the old days, the old school guys prided themselves on working light, not hurting each other.
Okay.
So, whether it was intentional, accidental, clumsy, whatever the case may be, Stan Hansen broke Bruno's neck by accident. And
right.
He had problems with his vision.
Okay.
We're getting some kind of echo, Jim. Okay. So, I hope that answers the question, but it's...
Okay, and Fulvio, I mean, what is the reaction to the older guys, to the newer guys? I mean, is there a lot of bitterness? Because it would seem like the newer guys are making more money, are getting more, because you have Monday Night Raw, you have all the pay-per-views, the SmackDown, no longer the territories. There's no longer I grew up watching the Channel 9 Saturday morning show where there's 100 people in the audience, and these guys are selling out Madison Square Garden.
I don't get a lot of jealousy from the old school guys to the current guys. I get more, how come there's no pension benefits and 401ks when we sacrificed ourselves for you 350 days a year?
Right. So
I hear more of that.
So basically, it's the same as in a way the NFL, where the old guys
Exactly.
are saying, "Take care of us.
Exactly.
We built you, and now and Fulvio, I'll direct that to you as well. I mean, is that your feeling? Is that the older guys are now saying, "Where's our health benefits? Where's our," as Evan said, 401ks?
I didn't get that impression or feeling from them. What I got and what they say is that in spite of all the hardships and how hard it was, that they would do it again. And the only thing that I can think of is when Angelo Mosca was kidding around saying that maybe he would ask for more money.
Right.
But I didn't really get animosity towards the new guys or any of that. I mean, it's a completely different beast, right? I mean, we're talking 30, 40 years ago to begin with. And it's just a different landscape. And that's
Right.
why we're talking about it, right? It was the territory days, so it was more difficult. But even then, some guys were making really good money. So I don't know. That's a tough question. I didn't get that impression.
Okay, Darren.
Well, it depends who you talk to. I mean, like J.J. Dillon was asked.
We have a
Hello.
call coming in.
You're calling the 350 days. Hold on. Hello. Hello.
Oh, yes. This is Evan from Under the Mat Radio.
Yes. How are you?
Doing good. So, I was talking for the press conference?
Yup. I'm going to put Evan on for you.
Okay, thanks.
So, Evan Prout, Under the Mat Radio. What questions do you have?
Yes, hello, everyone. I just want to say congratulations on this big event, this big press conference for this movie coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. Thanks for calling
no problem. Was one of the asks is that what is the one thing that you want every fan that's a wrestling fan, fans that were in the wrestling, even someone that's not a fan of wrestling, what's the one thing that you want the viewers to come out thinking or experience after watching 350 days?
We want you to understand the toll, the sacrifice that these men made to entertain you physically, psychologically. They were away from their families. The old school fans know that for Starcade, Survivor Series, they weren't home for Christmas, they weren't home for Thanksgiving, they weren't there for their kids' weddings, they weren't there for their kids' graduations. They sacrificed mightily to entertain us, and I don't know if people fully realize that. And the physical toll that it took on them on a rainy day, on a damp rainy day 30 years later, when the arthritis kicks in. And Darren will tell you when we're at a shoot and you have to help a guy off with his jacket because the arthritis is so bad that he can't move. You know, these guys really sacrificed for us, and we want people to take that away and, you know, appreciate and realize it.
That is true. That is true. Also, T, who would you say was the most, I would say, most emotional, the most moving interview that you guys had done during this process of the movie?
Fulvio?
I'd have to say the first one that comes to my mind is Bill Eadie, because he was talking about missing his daughter while on the road. And then at the Hall of Fame, we got to interview her daughter. And it was a very, very emotional moment for both of them. So that one really sticks in my mind. Superstar Billy Graham, when he's talking about his liver transplant. We have a lot of that. I mean, we're talking about the hardship of life on the road. So they all experienced it. Some of them hide it a little well, but some things, really come to the surface and they feel it. And even though they're on camera, it comes out.
What about anyone else? Any other names pop up besides Bill Eadie and
Darren?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is there any other names pop out for us being very emotional besides Fulvio saying Bill Eadie?
Well, Paul Orndorff, talks about missing his family and didn't like being away from his family. That pretty much sticks in my head with one of the major guys that we have in the film.
And one question to you is, I know I said this before, but to the fans who, and I've talked to a lot of fans of my show and talked to people outside promoting 350 days, and a lot of people have asked me, like, well, what's the difference? What makes this different from all the other documentaries that's been done? We've seen the Flair one, we've seen the one on Scott Hall, we've seen the one on Jake the Snake Roberts. How important do you think this will be for the wrestling industry? Do you see this impacting even the boys in WWE, in Ring of Honor, in Impact? Do you see them coming out and wanting to come out and see this? Is that one of your goals?
Evan, I'll take that.
Sure.
We've got 3 Ring of Honor wrestlers coming to the Hollywood premiere. I've got Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, and Scorpio Sky coming. They're going to be walking the red carpet. So we've got everybody coming. I've reached out to so many people. So yeah, I think the younger generation is really going to understand what came before them and how, if they're going through the same things where it started, and it's not all fun and games. There's so much work and hardships, and it's difficult on marriages and your health, and I think it's going to be really eye-opening.
Anyone else besides Ring of Honor that you guys can disclose right now that will be coming as far as the current wrestlers?
I've got a lot of invitations out to so many people. I've got 15 confirmed guests so far, and I can't even begin to tell you how many invitations have been sent out, and like really, really big names. I actually I even reached out to Mike Tyson, and he's not going to be in LA that day. But I figure his history with wrestling as well, his gimmick, that he would have been great to have there. And I've got several sources reaching out to people. I don't want to say for sure, because if she's available, she'll be there because of a family member.
Yeah, unless it's confirmed, I wouldn't give out names, Fulvio.
Yeah. Just know that a lot of people have been invited, and there's some really, really big names.
And that's at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood.
Being a friend of all of you guys and having the show for 5 years and being of course, we're all still wrestling fans. And I just want to say myself, personally and professionally, I'm very excited for the debut of 350 Days. I know I've talked to you guys from the beginning, Fabio and Darren and Evan, from the beginning stages to now to see 4 or 5 plus years of where it's coming to fruition, and that we're on this press conference, and we have a debut coming, the premiere coming up next month. I definitely cannot wait. So,
hey, Evan,
my
I want
plan,
to mention
hopefully, I will be in New York for the actual premiere with Evan and Darren, Fulvio. I'll be in California at some point down the line. So, I just want to say, guys, keep it up. It's been an honor to be on this press conference. I'll keep promoting you guys
Evan,
tomorrow.
plug your show
and
real
throughout
quick.
this week.
Evan,
thanks for all your help.
Evan.
Yes.
Plug your show real quick.
Oh, this is of course, I'm host Evan, Tech Pro, host of Under the Mask Radio, award-winning radio show heard all around the world, in the United States and Norway. And I want to say that I'm live every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Blog Talk Radio. You can also hear the archives of my show and older episodes on YouTube.com. That is Under the Mask Radio. My Twitter handle is Tech, TECH_UTMR. Like I said, I've had all 3 of these great guys on the show. I've had a lot of the wrestlers and the boys that's in kind of some on my show, past and present. So, like I said, I just want to support you guys. It's not about me. It's about 350 Days. Fulvio, Darren, other Evan. It's been great. Love you guys, and can't wait to see this movie next.
Thanks
next
for all your
month.
support, Evan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Evan. Thank you.
And you could never have enough guys named Evan in pro wrestling. So,
you can't.
So
You can't at
we're
all.
going to reach
Love
out
you guys.
to Lanny
I'll
the
see you next
Genius
month.
Poffo right now. Jim?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And while we're doing that, we'd like to introduce our very popular Monty and the Pharaoh wrestling radio host from
Evan, I have
Village
a call
Connection.
coming in.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi, this is JP from Pro Wrestling Stories calling for the press conference.
Okay, JP Zocker all the way from England. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Evan? It's good to hear your
right.
voice.
If you guys like pro wrestling history, ProWrestlingStories.com is a tremendous website, and I write for them. And JP, we have Monty and the Pharaoh in studio. We have Fulvio Cesare, the director and executive producer, on Skype. We have Darren Antola, the executive producer, seated next to me. Throw out a question or two.
Oh, fantastic. Guys, it's good to be talking to you. First and foremost, just a massive well done to everyone involved. more than 5 years of heart, passion, and tireless dedication went into making this movie. I can't wait to fly from London to New York to watch this alongside many of you on the 12th.
Your arms are going to be tired. That's an old joke.
My question, with more than 5 years going into this film, what was it that made it worth devoting 5 years of your life to tell this story?
Darren, you've suffered mightily for 5 years. What do you think?
5 years. Just the fact that we have all these people, and it took time to get them all, but we have all these guys and gal from, these elite group of guys from the 70s and 80s, and they're like all together in one movie. To me, that was worth it. That special group like Wendy and Greg and Tito and Lanny and superstar Billy Graham, and the list goes on and on. That to me was worth it, just having everybody in the film.
Absolutely. And
to me,
speaking of names, keep going. Sorry.
I was going to say to me, when I first got on board, I didn't know much about wrestling. So 5 years later, I think I know quite a bit, and I was pretty blessed to meet all these guys. And they're just so interesting and real characters and real complicated, smart people and very talented. So that was a highlight for me.
Yeah, and often these wrestlers live colorful lives off screen that for many is more interesting than what you're seeing on camera. To be honest. My other question is, you've had Steele, Snuka, Larry Sharp, Don Fargo, Wolfman, Ox Baker. They all sadly passed away after filming. How does it feel to have, in some cases, the very last interviews done by these legends?
Well, J.J. Dillon said that we've preserved history. So I think it's actually quite important. I don't think a lot of people besides Fulvio were running around, asking the Wolfman for his final interview, and he got it. So you preserved history, Fulvio Cesare and the crew. I think it's important. Who else are telling those stories? I saw Bruno wrestle the Wolfman in 75 or 4 or whatever it was. So to me it's important. Yeah.
How about Angelo Savoldi? He was 99 years old when we interviewed him. I think he passed away just a few months after our interview. So, I mean, that's for sure probably his last interview. And he was wrestling back in like the 40s, I think. So, we left his legacy. So I think that was pretty important.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you. I can't wait to watch this, and I'm very excited for all of you involved.
And I just want to thank JP. He set up 4 Reddit interviews for us that reached an awful lot of people. And ProWrestlingStories.com is, once again, if you like history, particularly history, this isn't like overanalyzing WWE SmackDown. There's real substance in this website, ProWrestlingStories.com. So check it out, folks, and support it. And thank you, JP. Really appreciate you calling.
Thanks for all your support, JP, for everything.
We'll see you at the premiere in New York.
Yeah, we'll see you in New York. Take care, guys. I'll be listening in to the rest of the show.
Thank you. And that's the premiere in New York is at the Regal Union Square, right across from the Strand Bookstore, the legendary Strand Bookstore. And J.J. Dillon, Tito Santana, Greg Valentine, Joe Gertner, Hollywood from Glow. They're all going to be there and more. So
850 Broadway.
850 Broadway. And that's July 12th, one night only.
Evan, are we calling
Yes,
Lanny?
let's call Lanny. We're a little behind. Thanks. And folks, we're going to call Lanny Poffo right now. Super genius. And you guys ask him questions.
You have reached the voicemail box of 7.
I didn't want to...
Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
I didn't want to give out his number,
That's right. That's right. We'll try Lanny later.
Okay.
This is what happens when we run behind.
We had a few calls interrupted, but you want to try rec or wait for sex?
Okay. Why don't we introduce Monty and the Pharaoh, and can we mic Dave also? We have another mic for Dave.
Hold on. Which do you want first?
Let's introduce Monty and the Pharaoh. We have our Village Connection Radio wrestling host, the Monty and the Pharaoh Show, Mike Monty and Jimmy Pharaoh, and they are in gimmick with the glasses. Every once in a while I see them without the glasses, and I'm like befuddled. So, how you doing, guys?
Good. Thanks for having us. Good. When I'm not holding something here. Hold on. How you doing?
There you go.
Act natural.
Every time we try to bring Monty and the Pharaoh on, we get a call. Let's see who this call is. 350 Days Press Conference.
Is that Evan Ginzburg?
Yes, it is.
Oh, Evan, Bob Johnson in Calgary. How are you?
Bob Johnson, Heartbeat Radio.
Yeah.
How are you?
Heartbeat Radio. I'm just
all the way
sitting
from
here.
Canada, our enemy to the north.
Yeah.
Ask Donald Trump,
That's,
our enemy to the north. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about 3:45 out here in Calgary, and I'm just sitting here on a beautiful, sunny, hot Calgary afternoon listening to you guys, and I just want to let you know how much I'm enjoying listening to you and Fulvio and Darren. So.
And we want to
Thank you.
We want to thank Heartbeat Radio for all their support. Bruce Hart, my buddy, Bob Johnson. They've had me on, and Fulvio, and J.J. Dillon, and Abdullah the Butcher, and etc. So on. And Bob, tell the audience real quick about Heartbeat Radio.
We have Heartbeat Radio. We run it every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern on Blog Talk Radio. And we're on Facebook and YouTube, the Best of Heartbeat Radio, with Bruce Hart and myself. We've done over 300 shows. We're just finishing up year number 5. And then we're going to have our little brief hiatus in the after the Waterloo, Iowa event, and then come into season 6.
300 shows. Who are 2 or 3 of your favorite interviews besides me? No, I'm kidding.
Besides, yeah, we have one the fans might want to listen to. You can go on to. We have the top the top 50. Well, it's about 70 now. The Best of Heartbeat Radio, but one of my favorite ones has to be the one with Terry Funk's birthday, where we had Terry came on, and he had come on, and then we invited him back about 3 months later, and we said we'd like to have you come back for your 70th birthday, Terry. So Terry came on and said, "Welcome to Heartbeat Radio. Happy birthday." Bob, it's not my birthday. I said, "Well, I thought Bruce Hart told me it was your birthday." And then Bruce said, "Happy birthday, Terry." And anyway, make a long story short, about 20 minutes in, Dave Meltzer did a surprise caller. And then we got a call at the bottom of the hour from Ric Flair for about a half an hour. And then our really good friend J.J. Dillon came on. And that was followed by Harley Race. So,
wow. Harley Race and Terry Funk on the same show. Where do you rate, Bob, where do you rate Harley Race and Terry Funk among the greatest of all time?
Well, they got to be probably the top 5 and up there.
Yeah.
Up with Abdullah, Terry, and Harley, a couple other guys.
I'll throw it out to our distinguished panel, Monty and the Pharaoh, David Wilkins, the executive producer, Darren.
Let me know when Distinguished arrives.
Yeah.
Top 5? Top 5. Wow.
I think Terry Funk...
I mean, it depends on your taste. I mean, Terry Funk is like rarefied air. I cannot even rank him because he's just so different. I don't know, man.
Importance
Off the top of my head?
Importance to the industry, I see it. I can't put him in the top 5.
Terry Funk.
I'm sorry.
What was the other one? Harley?
Harley Race.
Harley Race.
When he goes to the territory days, he's one of the greatest NWA champions ever. Yeah. I mean, Terry Funk is also, in my opinion, one of the all-time great NWA champions. That's just my opinion. Dory Funk, though, gets no... It's funny how nobody says a word about Dory. Didn't he hold it up for 2 years?
Dory didn't have the charisma that Terry had, but Dory was a great technician. Great technician.
Got to put Barry Windham up there pretty high as technician
It feels
wise.
like Dory almost gets forgotten about, and that guy was...
Dory was great.
From 73
Dory Funk and Jack Briscoe was art. Art.
Would you agree that Dory Funk Sr. was probably the...
Bob's still talking.
had to be one. If I wish I was around when Dory Funk Sr. was around. He, as well as Johnny Valentine and Buddy Rogers. I wish I was around in those days. That sounded like pretty good guys too.
Sure. I would have loved to have. Well, Greg Valentine's one of my personal favorites. I would have loved to have seen his father. I can just imagine.
The matches that Greg had with Bob Backlund, people forgot about.
Are you kidding me? I will never
hour-long
forget that.
matches.
I'm still rubbing it into him
We never
30 years
forget
later.
about that.
You know, when Valentine left with the strap that night.
Oh yeah, I was there.
Oh, my favorite.
At the Garden, yeah.
My favorite.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
great.
Valentine in his prime was tremendous.
Yep.
And we were actually talking about that. I think at the Capitol Center, Valentine actually defended the WWE WWF title at the time, even though
I don't know.
it was held up.
I could have sworn that they held it up, and then the next thing you knew, they were taking it away from him, and then they had a rematch.
He actually had a defense of it, but that whole era with Backlund, we grew up on it. We loved it. Loved every minute of it. Every match.
And they would tell a story. They wouldn't. I'm not going to mention names, but they wouldn't cut themselves with a blade the first 5 minutes in and bleed. They would slowly build up to the match and really tell a story and pace themselves for 60 minutes where you were,
when you talk about
entertained.
When you talk about telling a story, right? Morocco Snooker always gets that big play. That was one of the great matches. But before that, you had the Backlund Snooker cage match, and the story Backlund tells in the last 3 minutes of that match is incredible. When Snooker's climbing the cage, he looks up, realizes Snooker's not paying attention to him, and acts like he's hurt. Snooker comes off the cage, misses him, and Backlund gets out of the ring. Those 3 minutes, I remember like it was yesterday.
I think 1980, right?
Yeah, well, 83 maybe. I'm not sure.
Backlund.
Yeah.
Forgive me, Backlund and Morocco were not in the movie, correct?
No.
Were these guys that you tried to
They
get
were
a
not
hold
in the
of?
movie, no.
Were these guys you tried to get a hold of?
No, I don't think so.
Just curious. They're from the same time period. I was just curious.
Morocco's based out of Hawaii, so it's logistically difficult.
Okay.
But would you like to try Lanny Poffo one more time?
Okay, say goodbye.
Okay, so Bob, plug Heartbeat Radio real quick.
Okay, Heartbeat Radio again. We have it every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern on Blog Talk Radio, and you can just go on to Facebook, or you can just Google in Heartbeat Radio. We have we've done over 300 shows. We've had something like 20 WWE Hall of Famers on there. We've had historians. We've had lots of guys who've been on and passed away. We have a great interview. It's actually up on YouTube with the late, great Don Fargo. We did another one recently with Dick Beyer. And so we've had some pretty interesting people on the show. And again, you can, if you go to YouTube, Legit Pro Wrestling on YouTube, you can see the very best of Heartbeat Radio. And we have the top, I think we've done something like 300 shows, and we have about 70 of our very favorite ones. And I don't want to say, I always say when the top, I guess I'd say the top 10 or the top 20, but again, Harley has been on the show a couple of times and really enjoy him, and Terry's always been a great guy, and of course Evan Ginzburg and Fulvio. We enjoyed you guys on the show.
Thank you.
But I'll tell you, one person that I really enjoyed talking to, and I could talk to him forever, is J.J. Dillon. He came on, and he was on for a couple hours, and really good guy.
J.J. Dillon could talk wrestling for a couple of months. Yeah. He's an encyclopedia.
Definitely.
But anyway, Bob, we got to run. We have a couple of calls to make. But thank you so much, and thank you for your support. Really appreciate it.
Oh, okay, listen, Evan, just before I leave, I just want a big shout-out to a big supporter of 350 Days. Is my dear friend Tiger Conway Jr. in Houston. Okay. Nick Kozak. Two guys great. Told me they really support your endeavors. So just a big shout-out to those two guys. So you guys have a great afternoon. Great show.
Thank you so much. Listening. Bob Johnson, one of the unsung heroes of pro wrestling. I love that guy. Okay.
I need the Jeopardy music playing in the background. There you go.
Gonna try Lanny Poffo one more time.
No, we're trying. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. I was the wrong one. Keep talking.
So listen, I have a quick question for all of you. Getting to know these wrestlers and interviewing them and spending so much time with the amount of them that passed away during the filming or right after the filming, how did you all handle that emotionally?
Well, for one, Jimmy Snuka was a real close friend of mine for many years. Me and Dave would sleep in his house. My wife would stay there. He treated us like family, make you breakfast in the morning. That kind of really took a lot out of me for a long time because he was just such a good guy, you know. Yeah, when these guys are dying, it just makes you feel really bad because you're interviewing these guys, you know, they're sharing their lives with you, and it just you don't realize how many of them died in a short time, you know.
There's a lot of things that you go through when you're interviewing these guys. We actually became pretty good friends with a lot of them, you know, because they're opening up to us, and that's how you actually get a bind, I guess, or
It's
a
a
bond
trust.
somehow.
Trust.
Yeah, trust. Yeah, you trust them for them to open up to like strangers that come in for the first time. But after they got to know us, and they just opened up. They opened up, and we got to know them really good, and it kind of did hurt when so many guys passed away, and we couldn't believe it. We just couldn't believe it.
David Wilkins has the demeanor of a good psychiatrist. People open up to him.
Oh yeah, seems to be. They all open up to me. I don't know why.
You have reached the voicemail box of 72.
Sorry, I don't think that was going to happen.
All right, let's try Rick Drayson. So, Monty Nefaro, tell us real quick about your show.
You can find us Thursdays at 8:05 to 9 o'clock p.m. We do WWE recaps. Sometimes we got some wrestlers on. We are definitely not your average podcast. We tend to crack jokes, to say the least, and you never know what the hell's going to happen with our show. But
hilarity ensues.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Fun will be had.
That tends to and you might actually learn something too because we've been watching wrestling combined 80 years. So
wow.
Yeah, combined.
Wow.
So we know what's going on a little bit. But Jim, do I have a chance to ask this question? Because I really do. I haven't heard this question asked yet, and I gotta ask it. And I want each one of you, if you can, to answer it for me. You know, it's obvious that the film is going to have some emotional strings to pull on when the viewer sits and watches it. You know, we're going to see some personal things that are going to pull at the heartstrings and stuff. But I really want to know from Fulvio, you know, everyone here, is there any way to help them? Is there any way to ever get a union? Is there any way to finally really make this kind of crap stop? Is there? How do we make that happen? You know, I mean, that to me is, I'm sure at the end of the day, we're all going to feel like, man, they deserve more. But what can we do to make that happen? Sorry, man, I had to lay the bomb down, but I had to. Because it's important. The whole question. These are people's lives. This is important stuff. How do we fix this?
Well, I keep saying that as someone involved in film, and Fulvio could answer this also, film and TV. I mean, these guys are on primetime hit TV shows. They should be in SAG. They should be, you know, getting paid, you know, better than they're getting paid for the most part. And
Vince is mad. Siren.
Yeah.
Siren. We got him going. Vince is angry. Yeah. Hey, stop talking about me. I mean, is there a solution of any kind? I mean, that's the real...
I've been saying forever they should have pensions, 401ks, health benefits.
Well, let me ask you
could
this.
Could a union be formed in this business
well,
the way it's laid out currently?
That's what you guys are saying. What were the wrestlers saying? Were they like, we shouldn't have had a union? That's a great question. I mean, was that brought up during the documentary?
I don't think that was really brought up about that type of stuff. I mean, it just depends who you talk to. I mean,
they were more telling about their road experiences because some of them have been out for a long time.
Sure.
Hi, this is Rick. If I don't pick up the phone, it's
okay.
I don't think it'll ever get fixed, to be honest with you. I think it's something that'll be talked about forever, just like in boxing. Whether it be a pension fund for the fighters. This guy made $80 million and blew it away. I mean, different than the wrestlers, but I don't think it'll ever happen.
There is no union for boxers either.
No, you're dealing with corporate guys that are trillionaires. This is it. You're an independent contractor. But some of the guys have Cena and those guys are...
Hi, this is Drew Copeland from Premier Innovations. Please leave.
Someone called him? So for us, we've been waiting, right? This is a big event.
Sure.
You know, I could watch this for probably a week.
Oh my God. No doubt.
The younger fan. What will make the younger fan come to 350 days?
Well, It's funny you should mention it. I just told my brother-in-law this the other day. I said, I go back to watching Evander Holyfield out of the Olympics and Sugar Ray Leonard and these guys. And if there was a movie about fighters from the 30s and 40s, I'm going to watch it because I love boxing, even though I wasn't around back then. So I really think that you will have people come out to see, younger people that know Bret Hart and want to learn about these other guys that came before John Cena and the others.
I mean, I'm a music fan. I was just watching Leadbelly, who was big in the 20s and 30s. Right. If you appreciate something, you want to know the history and you want to know the icons and their stories. And I don't think it's that far-fetched. And I think what's going to happen is a lot of uncles and parents and grandparents will take their kids and say, these were the heroes. These were my heroes when I don't think it's an issue, really.
Great.
I think the issue is Dave's cell phone being on.
Thanks a lot.
Man, his cell phone.
Darren, can you take me through a typical day of filming for you, personally?
Well, I just did a lot of the interviews, and Fulvio did the ones in Canada. He had somebody interview, or he interviewed her. Again, it just depends who you're talking to. For me, Wendy Ricker was tremendous. Yeah. She was really, really good at her horse farm, talking about her career.
And it didn't always go smooth for her either with Vince, that's for sure.
No. I mean, she's an occupational therapist now, making real money, and she couldn't be any more happier.
Good. In the film, do you go back showing them when they were younger, or maybe a clip?
Yeah, we have footage and tons of photos, rare photos.
Photos you never saw before from fans that fans dug out of their.
I'll tell you a funny
chest.
story. He found one fan with tons of photos, and there I was 30 years ago in the background of a photo.
Get out! You the Howard Johnson surreal. In the background.
That is hilarious.
No.
Did you circle that thing? Like pull it up?
I'm not sure if
it's Slick and Butch Reed, I think. Some guy's taking a picture, and you see like a young Evan Ginzburg.
Yeah.
Wow,
surreal.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is incredible.
He's everywhere.
He is everywhere.
I'm like Savoy.
Like Zelig.
He's like the everywhere man.
Like Zelig.
Hey, we're trying to find pictures for this thing, though. It actually took us almost 2 years to do a lot of research and to try to put the right connections out there, to try to find out. We had to go to museums, we went all over the place to try to get pictures to put in the film and to make it, a little bit more exciting.
That's great.
Wow. Jim's calling Dr. Love.
Hi, this is Rick. If I don't pick up the phone, it's because I'm busy doing something, but...
Rick's doing something.
Rick Jason's doing something.
So
doesn't sound like he's doing the press conference just yet.
So as a fan, I'll tell you, it took me back a little bit when you played your first introduction of the, I guess like the coming of 350 Days, when Bret Hart talks about doing cocaine with the boys, and is the film full with this type of? Because I was taken aback. I was like, whoa, that's wow.
You kind of get to know each other.
It's not just about doing cocaine. It's their lives. Everything that went on being on the road. We basically wanted, for people that don't know, gravity isn't fake.
Yeah,
that's basically
that's for sure.
Wow. It's not done in an exploitative way. No. He's saying that was part of their lives. The movie really tells the good, bad, and ugly of it all. Yeah. And we're very proud of the what we have and what people are going to see July 12th. And we want to remind people that this is only one night. It's a Fathom event. And let me quickly walk people through what they're going to experience when they go into the theater. I'm talking the 400 theaters nationwide, not specifically the premieres, because those have additional activities. But anywhere in the U.S., they walk in the theater, there's going to be trivia and facts on screen. Then J.J. Dillon comes out on screen and introduces the film, much like if you're watching Turner Classics and you have the distinguished gray-haired host come out and introduce the film. Then the film itself, which is just under 2 hours. And then after the film, I'll be interviewing J.J. Dillon on screen. And this was shot a few days after Bruno died, and that was JJ's dear friend. So even that's very touching, very moving. Wow. And he talks about Bruno and Piper and, of course, the Horsemen. And what's interesting with the segment is he compares wrestling then and now. And he's not one of these bitter old guys, today it's a circus. No, he's very positive and Daniel Bryan can do things that we never would have dreamt of 30 years ago. And so it's an interesting segment in and of itself, which will not be available otherwise. So come out on the 12th, July 12th, and experience the whole thing.
He also talks about things that he never spoke about before with the Horsemen, which is very interesting.
We're excited.
It's going to be gold.
This is gold.
Sounds like gold.
And Jim, would we be able to go to a promo real quick before we try Greg Valentine?
Yes, just give me a minute.
So, David Wilkins, how are you holding up after 2 months of promotion?
Yeah, I'm holding up. We're gonna have to do that.
Okay.
It's tough. It's tough.
There you go.
Still working a lot of different jobs and stuff.
That's right. Dave Wilkins is 22 years old. This film has aged him terribly. Yeah. So we're going to show another promo while we set up here real quick. Okay.
350 days a year as a wrestler on the road. Maybe it's a sickness.
350 days a year.
A lot of physical pain, a lot of loneliness.
You have no home life whatsoever.
Piper and me riding down the road, doing 8 balls of cocaine. I'm sure it broke up marriages.
How many guys in the wrestling business have a family left when they're done? Most of them lose it.
I couldn't have children. I couldn't put them on a turnbuckle while mommy worked.
I look forward to it, bro. You know why? Because I love it so much. It's in my heart.
When you're famous, you don't have to go look for trouble. Trouble comes knocking on your door.
I hit the bars, and that was my character.
Sitting in a room with a bunch of wrestlers doing cocaine, we really got to know each other.
I would take a lot of downers, and I did have problems with the downers.
I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I was not a faithful husband from the first day, for the whole time, on the road. I lived a double life.
I needed it. It was like, I'm not getting the love I needed home.
Would I do? Oh my God, I am afraid to say I would do it again.
I wouldn't change a thing.
No regrets. I loved everything I did. I actually wish I could do it all over again.
Well, I want to tell you, to make some big money in wrestling, you had to wrestle every night of the week, $30 every day. So you had to wrestle 6 and 7 times every week just to earn your money.
350 days on the road with wrestlers, a living hell.
So we are back, and Stephen Miller has rejoined us. And Steve, what was the greatest wrestling match you ever saw live?
Ooh, the greatest wrestling match I ever saw live.
I said it first. No, I'm kidding.
My dad took me when I was 9 to see Bruno Sammartino fight superstar Billy Graham.
Oh yeah, it was unbelievable. I was there.
It was 1974, maybe.
76.
76.
Yeah.
Either one. But and what was amazing was my father was not into it. He was like, okay, I'll take you, kid, whatever. But what was incredible to me, I didn't watch a lot of the match because the crowd was so nuts around us at the Garden that it was actually, I'm like 9 or 10, and it was actually a little intimidating. Like, it was like frightening that they were so angry at Billy Graham, who I was actually like the only person there rooting for.
Yeah, he was the cool heel.
And I was like, this is the cool. Why are they rooting for the other guy? I don't get it. Like, he doesn't do anything. This guy's like awesome, but and it was incredible. And the undercard had one of my favorites on it too. Was Dominic DeNucci, which was like, hey, Dominic DeNucci, there he is.
And you just met him. He's 86. He looks the same. He looks the same, right?
He could crush walnuts in his
They're
hand.
like best friends now.
Well, interestingly enough, we were chatting, and my ancestors, I'm half Italian, come from basically the same town as
You guys
he
are
did.
related?
No, we're not related at all.
No, that's Salvatore Bellomo.
Yeah, children.
That's a different one.
And they both had the same experiences during World War II when the Germans occupied. So we had a great conversation.
Wow.
Really interesting guy. And looks like he could crush your head in his hands now at 85 years old.
That's for sure.
He was still like killing it.
You know the Dominic DeNucci match that always sticks in my head for a variety of reasons. I saw Dominic DeNucci and Jose Gonzalez against the Executioners, and at the Garden. The Executioners bloodied up Gonzalez, and they brought him back to the dressing room.
Yeah. Right.
Then he came back out with a bandage around his head, like the guy in the Revolutionary War. Remember?
Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And then Gonzalez went and killed Brody later.
Wow. No, I used to watch he and Irish Pat Barrett fight the Blackjacks on Saturday mornings. It always used to be them against the Blackjacks with Captain Lou.
Yeah, the Blackjacks were tough.
Mulligan and Lanza.
Lanza's another guy that looks the same 30 years later.
He looks good. He looks good. Yeah.
Looks pretty much the same.
He does. He
Well,
does.
Dominic didn't look the same, but he still looked like
You'd recognize him if he walked down the street.
It did look like
he
him.
actually looked like it could have been any one of my mom's uncles. It would have been like, hey, Uncle Frank.
If you saw Dominic DeNucci walk down the street, you go, that's Dominic DeNucci. And you're talking 30 years later. Right?
Trained Foley.
I think-
He did a
I-
job
I-
training
I think the guy
he helped
we
train
pull up-
Foley, you know.
Oh yeah, Shane Douglas was saying that.
Shane
that
Douglas
they
was
all
saying
trained with that they trained with him. That he and Foley both did.
He helped him out a lot.
Yeah.
So we are trying Greg Valentine.
This is big for you, buddy.
This is out of control.
This is big.
Pharaoh's melting.
Pharaoh's like, oh my god.
My favorite wrestler.
Oh,
Greg,
Hello.
Evan and Darren and the crew, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good, good.
Great.
We are honored to have you on. This is the press conference for 350 Days. How do you feel about being in the film, Greg? And we appreciate your support so much. You've done so many interviews for us. And how do you feel about being in this film, Greg?
Well, I feel honored, and I'm excited about the premiere. I'm going to be in New York for that. A friend of mine, or actually my wife's nephew, was in Orlando watching a movie and saw the preview, and he called us right up, the preview of 350 Days. So we're all excited. I'm excited. So.
We have radio host Monty and the Pharaoh in studio, and we were reminiscing about you wrestling Backlund for an hour at the Garden. So, Monty and the Pharaoh, questions for Greg Valentine.
Mr. Valentine, thank you so much for taking this time out with us. I just want to state for the record, I'm going to mark out right now, you are my favorite wrestler ever. So I'm marking it out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a mark.
Put your hand on the Bible and swear to
I
it.
assume. You know what? Is there one here? I'm a former elder who's completely confused, and I'm going to do that right now. It's on. It's on. It is on. Mr. Valentine, can you tell us about your experience doing the filming, and how long was the crew with you for?
I'm sorry you broke up for a second.
If you can tell us about your experience doing the filming of the 350-day documentary, and how long was the crew with you for during the filming, the time?
Well, I think this project's been going on for 3 years. Am I right, Evan? Darren?
More like 5. Yeah.
But anyway, I remember going over to Gino Caruso's gym where he trains guys, and I set up a chair in the ring, or you guys did, and filmed me for quite a long interview. That was the beginning of it. Then I remember going out somewhere in western New Jersey, and we filmed the car sequence where I'm driving the car around. It's all good. I don't know what kind of wrestling tapes that I have in there, but I haven't really seen the movie myself. I've just seen different parts of it, but I'm going to be excited to see the whole thing on July 12th.
And Greg, what was it like to be in the ring for an hour physically? What does that feel like?
Well, I had done that many times down in the Mid-Atlantic territory with Ric Flair and Roddy Piper and Wahoo McDaniel. I mean, I trained to go long matches. So the first time I ever came to New York in 1979, I thought, oh, it's going to be a cakewalk. Everybody goes 10 minutes in the ring. And they come up to me and they go, we're going to have you do an hour in the garden with Backlund. It's never been done before. And I go, oh, no. But it worked out great. Bob's a great athlete, and I was just happy to be part of that, and going an hour, if you pace yourself and if you're in good shape, like I was way back then, I'm still in decent shape, but not like that. It's just a thing that you get used to.
You should still be champion. I haven't gotten over October 19th, 1981.
Yes.
Because I know damn well you walked out with the belt that night. I saw it. I went to school the next day. I rubbed it into anyone I could that you had the belt. How dare they take it away from you? Anyway, that's my statement. That's not a question.
But
that's
you know
a
what?
statement.
I got a bunch of pictures with it.
Well, Greg,
I bet you do.
Grand Wizard was my manager back then. He goes, let's get a bunch of pictures with it before they come and take it.
Yeah, those rats.
Greg, to be honest, with you, I was happy they took the belt back because I was a Morocco guy.
Would you please? Greg, not just to fill you in, we're childhood friends. We grew up, watching you and the magnificent Morocco, and he made Morocco his favorite, and you were mine. So we used to go back and forth in junior high.
I love Morocco, though.
There you go.
Morocco
you guys,
both great.
You guys were great.
Yeah, we both win as far as I'm concerned. We saw Backlund and Pedro coming. We started throwing shit at them. No, boo, go away.
Hey, Greg, quick question. Of all the territories you worked, what's your favorite match of all time?
Well, the one that gets most recognition, I guess, by a lot of the wrestling fans of that dog collar match with Roddy Piper. And sorry to hear about his passing, and Roddy was a great friend of mine. But then there was a lot of iconic matches that I have with Tito Santana that you just can't ignore those. And I got to mention one other one was Rugged Roddy Garvin.
Greg, when you see, I don't know if you still watch the current product or if you hear about how they treat the Intercontinental title today, how do you feel about that? Seeing how the belt gets passed around or has been passed around with such little value on it compared to when you held it.
Yeah, I don't watch that much of the wrestling thing these days. I guess it's hard to look past or forget about the 80s and how well it was then. I'm not knocking the athletes and everything. They got great athletes nowadays. I just don't really watch it, but I know one thing for sure: they do that with all the belts, not just the IC belt.
Right.
They don't leave a belt on for a long time on anybody, so everybody gets confused. Who's the world champion? Who's the Intercontinental champion? Who's the United States champion? I don't know. They switch it so many times.
Makes two of us. I don't know either.
That's wrong.
Right. Right. Your name was directly associated with the United States title back in those days, and they seem to have lost that nowadays. I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, I had that belt 4 different times, and I guess when Vince bought out NWA or WCW, whatever it was called, he got that U.S. belt under his wing. But that's a darn good belt, United States Championship.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Proudly. You were the best.
Greg, when you were in the regions and then you finally got to New York, was New York that big of a deal to you, or was it just another regional place? You hear a lot of wrestlers say that when you got to New York, you made it. What was your feelings?
Yeah, well, everybody says when you, everybody says it's not just in my sport, but they said if you make it in New York, you've made it for everything. New York is. It's the top of the mountain for almost everything, for plays, for movies, for comedies, for sports, the Yankees, so much for the Giants.
Yes.
But
the Knicks.
Yeah, New York is the pinnacle. It's the top, and for wrestling, it was the top. And you feel like, well, if you can make it in New York, you've made it. Like an old Frank Sinatra song.
Sure. Can you tell us about your little wrestling match with Fulvio during the filming?
Fulvio.
In the original trailer we had you wrestling with Fulvio. You were chopping him. Fulvio's on Skype right here.
We got Fulvio with his hammer.
I can personally say that was a highlight.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't remember it.
Oh.
I haven't got
He does.
Alzheimer's or old-timers disease yet. I just don't remember it because you guys have been filming this for 3 years, so give me a break.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm sure it was good, though. Fulvio, was it good?
Yeah, he remembers it.
Oh,
Okay,
I remember,
good,
and
good.
I think, Greg, you're going to absolutely love it. You just shine in this movie. You're a big star in it, so I think you're going to be really proud.
Well, I remember doing the long interview right in the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
And, that
came
was
out
awesome.
so well. It was so beautifully shot. I mean, it really looks great. I'm very proud of it. I think you're really going to love it.
Well, I'm
And
going to
thank
see
you
it for
for
Sam.
so
It runs
honest
about
and
2 hours,
candid.
right?
That's right.
Yeah, I'll be there in New York watching it, and I'll be excited. You bet.
Well, we
I know we did a good job. 'Cause
we just want
I know
to thank.
Darren and Evan, and they're not going to release anything. It's not a good job or a good completion. That's going to be a talk of the wrestling universe and beyond. I think when that thing gets put out on all those different theaters, July 12th.
Yeah. Well, Greg, we really appreciate you coming on, and we just want to thank you. You've done so many interviews and so much support of the project, and we're forever indebted, really.
Thanks a lot, Greg. Much appreciated.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that XM interview too on Busted Open. I'll be on that too.
Yes, I
coming
think
up
it's this
year.
Friday, the 29th, if I'm not mistaken, right? I gotta check the
Yeah,
calendar.
right. Okay.
And Hammer, thank
All
you.
right, guys. Thanks for having me on. I
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
it
you.
always.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay.
One
Bye-bye.
of the true legends of the business, Greg the Hammer Valentine.
The
And,
Mickey Mantle of pro wrestling.
And most importantly, Jimmy Farrow's favorite wrestler.
Yeah, I just flung the microphone off the chair and
He was so excited he knocked the microphone off.
I just thought that thing right off the side.
You were practicing your knife edge chops, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm practicing all right. Yeah, me and my mic.
So,
oh, boy.
God, you guys are about
He's
to
awesome, by the
You guys
way.
are about
That
to
was
kill me
great.
with your eyes when I said that Morocco thing.
What?
I love Morocco.
He was one of the greatest heels of all time.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, but Valentine's the man.
Oh, Valentine's.
You know,
Head and shoulders above
let
Morocco.
me just say something. I lived through that era. I was at the Garden almost every month. It's like apples and oranges. Both those guys were great. Both those guys
No,
were
you
great.
got you got to understand. At that time, Morocco, I think he had a 1 hour Broadway. Then he did a Texas Death Match.
Yeah.
And he lost, and I was in
Yes.
tears.
Oh,
I think
Morocco came this close.
You know, and then I think
So
I don't know
close.
if did Valentine take the belt like right after
Valentine
that.
took it right after that. Yeah. Yeah.
So-
That was great. I went to school. I was beaming.
I was pretty
I was
upset.
rubbing it in. My guy.
I think
My guy.
both of those guys in their prime were among the greatest heels of all time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
So you know when someone said earlier, like Terry Funk, Harley Race, where they ranked, you got to remember something. We were WWF guys all the way. It was almost like we, we watched Georgia Championship Wrestling. We read the magazines, tried to catch the Mid Atlantic, but we hated those guys because they were from the other area. And we always considered Valentine, Morocco, WWF guys, even though they,
Morocco was not as good as a face, though, at the
yes.
end of the 80s.
No, he wasn't a good face. Heel. He was made to be a heel.
But you know what? He was the original Rock. Remember they used to call him the Rock.
Don the Rock, you're right.
That's right.
Remember they used to sell the T-shirts?
That's right.
Don the Rock, Morocco.
Billy Graham managed
Then
them,
they had
right?
the tie-dye.
Absolutely.
Remember he had the tie-dye shirt on? They kind of.
I could remember Billy Graham training him in the deserts of Arizona.
You're right.
Climbing the mountains with the Rock.
With a spider on his head.
Yeah, that's right.
Remember?
Man,
Tarantula.
You got it.
He had the tarantula.
Tarantula on the head.
That's how David Wilkins trains now. He's inspired by that.
That's
the tarantula on his head. So
that's funny.
We have a few minutes left. Why don't we close the door? We have some background noise.
I'd like to add something if I can.
Go ahead, Mr. Fulvio.
We were talking earlier about, you were asking, if things are going to change and all that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that it's not our job to do that as any good documentary. We just document both sides.
Right.
And so I think the interviews themselves will explain how they feel about things, and if there's going to be any progress, it'll come from maybe watching what these guys went through.
Right.
And the other thing is, Brett being honest and candid about the coke and all this stuff. I mean, Superstar goes on and on about steroids. I mean, there was nothing off the table. Infidelities, ring rats. I mean, you name it. That's one of the hallmarks of this documentary, I think, that people were so open and honest with us. So, that was it. Just wanted to add that.
And Fulvio, tell us about the premiere. It's the legendary Chinese Theater in Hollywood. Give folks the details, because this is worldwide, this broadcast.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I've secured the theater. We've got a red carpet set up and the whole banners and stuff. We have at the moment 15 confirmed guests, and I don't even know how many other invitations went out. We're having an after party event. I've got photographers coming. I'm working on getting press. I've got friends over at Getty Images in New York. They're trying to see if they can send some people down in L.A. So yeah, I mean, this is a big deal, and L.A. doesn't have the wrestling world like New York or maybe even Chicago does, but there is a very, very vibrant indie scene there. PW Gorilla and Ring of Honor, all that stuff is championship wrestling and Hollywood. There's a very, very vibrant community out there, and everybody is kind of buzzing about this. We've got 5 of the original Glow Girls coming, and they're telling everybody. So I'm getting Facebook requests and emails up from wazoo. This is it's generating some buzz, and I think it's going to be a big hit.
And Darren, tell us what's happening in New York at the premiere.
Well, you mentioned before you were talking about Tito Santana and Valentine, and we got both of those guys going to be there signing autographs for free autographs from 5 to 6:45. We have J.J. Dillon, the original leader of the Four Horsemen, going to be there, and some other Glow Girls had contacted Evan that wanted to come. We said, sure, why not? So things are shaping up. There's going to be more people to be announced, too, as the days lead up to it.
This is really exciting.
And executive producer David Wilkins will show everybody the tarantula on his head that he trains with. So that'll be special also.
First, I got to train tarantula.
That's okay. But so we have a few minutes left. Any other questions regarding the movie, regarding old school wrestling, whatever the case may be?
So I have a question. Where
Sure.
do you guys think this will leave your mark on wrestling with this documentary, right? You've been involved in The Wrestler, which we consider one of the great movies of all time.
It's beautiful.
And
Thank you.
There's
Thank
been
you.
some documentaries out there in wrestling which are absolutely incredible. Will I walk out of this wanting to see it again? And if it does well, which I expect it to, will you have the opportunity to go back to the theater and see it again?
I think how this is going to play out, we're going to get another screening right after this, is how I feel. People are going to be blown away by this. You're going to hear stuff that you haven't heard in the shoot interview. It's just completely different. And like you said, we have something that nobody has. We have the last interviews of these legends, like Jimmy Snuka, Ox Baker, Don Fargo, Wolfman, caught on film, and who would have that? What other Federer? Vince wouldn't have that.
There's more guys in this film than anybody ever did. Yeah. That's the other thing.
This is like the Expendables movie of wrestlers. We've got everybody here. We got all the horses to pull the buggy,
This is like a dream documentary. I cannot,
I believe Fulvio mentioned that there were well more than 38 wrestlers in the original shootings.
There's 39, I believe.
Is there 39 now? Okay.
Yeah,
but that made it into the final cut. We interviewed 72.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
right.
So many others. Might have a lot of other footage, I'm sure.
And you guys just missed Piper, right? I think he passed right before he got an opportunity.
Just missed
right. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just watching, it was Bruno and Orndorff against Piper and Orton. And he's so great, Piper, that you can't wrap your head around the fact that he's gone.
Yeah.
He's so charismatic, you just can't,
He's one of those.
Yeah, one of those.
He's special. He was one in gazillion. Yeah, he was. I just, by the way, for you today, in honor of Mr. Evan Ginzburg, I watched Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat.
Oh yeah, how great was that?
Which one? There's about 100 of them. Carolinas.
What was it the Clash of the Champions 6
at the Meadowlands?
This was Clash of the Champions
89,
6.
probably.
It was 2 out of 3 falls.
Oh yeah.
And it's the one that ended with me annoyed because I felt Flair got screwed because they landed on top of with Steamboat on top of Flair, but Flair's foot was underneath the rope, and they still gave the pinfall to Steamboat. What a great match though. I mean, just sitting there watching that with my buddy Bart because he wanted to know more. I've been breaking one of my friends into wrestling. He's been into it for 4 years now and just loving it, absorbing the history. And he asked me, who's Evan's favorite, match? And I said, he sometimes mentions Flair and Steamboat. Yeah. So we looked it up and we watched. It was an hour.
Unbelievable.
It was an unbelievable match.
The one specifically I was referring to, and Darren's right, they probably wrestled hundreds of times.
Right.
I saw them at the Meadowlands go 35 minutes, and
Right.
it was unbelievable.
And those guys are made for each other. Those guys were made to wrestle.
They were.
And to answer your previous question, when we did The Wrestler, none of us got rich from it. Not Mickey, not Marissa Tomei, not myself.
Should have.
And
it's a beautiful
but
film.
the point
What a
is,
film.
100 years from now,
Right.
people will be watching that movie,
I think so.
and it's like a little piece of immortality.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it out of ego. I'm saying that proud to have created art, and Fulvio and Darren and David have created, and Michael Burlingame, the editor, tremendous editor, they've all created art, and art survives. Art survives long after we're gone. And I could see 100 years from now somebody watching this movie. Absolutely.
Did you find yourself? I'm not sure who this is best directed to. This question, but when you were putting together the scenes, did you find yourself saying to yourself that this wrestler goes well with this wrestler? Or this one's not flowing well.
It was
into
more
this next
thematically.
scene?
It was more, this is about the injuries. This is about, being away from the family. Because you had over 120 hours of content. So you had to have some sense where it made some kind of sense.
So it's built kind of subjectively?
Thematically almost, yeah.
Okay, understood.
Actually, Darren was the one that came up with the idea. He wanted to make more like a human interest story. Okay? He was the one that said about making the human interest story. So when he got the editor, him and Evan actually got Michael Burlingame.
And Fulvio also. Make a human interest story.
That was really Fulvio said that from the door. He always wanted to make a human interest story.
There you go. Yeah. So when they started to make that a human interest story, we told the editor that. He put a big sign over his computer saying, "This is not a wrestling movie. This is, a human interest story."
Right.
And that's the way he cut it. Now, the first 2 months, he told us he spent making 400 pages of notes just on all the filming that was done.
Wow.
All right. And after he did that, then he color coded a lot of sections. Like, all right, this goes with injuries, this goes with this goes with that. Wow. And that's how he started putting the things together.
There we go.
He's as old school as they come.
That's awesome.
And
the old writing tablet.
Broke it down to the basics and put it all back together. That's fantastic.
That's what he did.
And I want to thank Paul Whitehead because he did a lot of work on this too early on. He just kept getting picked up for series and he wasn't able to finish.
And while we're doing thank yous and wrapping things up, we want to thank Jim Savali and Village Connection Radio for really going above and beyond.
My pleasure.
And giving us this forum. And any final comments, questions?
Where's Lanny Poffo?
Yeah, where's Lanny?
We called late. That's on us.
What do you mean? Where is he? He's doing calculus.
He's leaping around.
He's doing
calculus.
calculus.
Try one more
He's
time just in case.
Let's try.
Since you brought him up.
He's a genius.
He's doing calculus.
Let me tell you,
doing it very well.
Lanny,
we screwed up all the kids.
Lanny lived with me for a week. I had him booked for 5 or 6 different gigs. This guy is a genius.
Did he run out of the house screaming after
He has
a
an
week?
encyclopedic memory. Seriously.
Oh, that I do believe.
He can memorize epic poetry.
I also know he's in tremendous shape too.
He's not a kid.
Yeah,
not a kid.
Excellent, super genius.
So I'm going to tell you the basics of radio. You're not supposed to have dead silence.
There you go.
Everybody's looking at each other.
Somebody say something. Something.
Yeah.
Something.
Close the door.
Hello.
Lanny, Evan, how are you?
Oh, this is Greg.
Oh, you called the wrong number, Jim. Oh, we're sorry, Greg.
That's okay.
We're trying to call Lanny Papa.
Sorry, Greg.
Okay.
They have the same area code.
Same area
Was that the hammer again?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the hammer.
That's cool. I got him twice. That's great. Should I knock the mic over again?
Yeah. Don't do that. Hold on. Sorry about that.
So we are trying for maybe the final time to call Lanny Pafo since we were off schedule. It's live radio.
Hello?
Lanny, this is Evan. I apologize. We called you a little late before. We missed you.
How you doing?
How are you? How are you?
How's the movie?
Good. We're in full promotion mode, and we're grateful for you coming on. And we just wanted to briefly, ask you how you feel about being in a movie that's nationwide, 400 or so theaters on July 12th.
Okay, by the way, I already I bought 3 tickets.
Wow.
And so I'm contributing to the cause.
Above and beyond the Call of Duty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. What theater are you seeing in it?
In Oldsmar.
Okay. So the
Let me see. I got it right here. It's Woodland Square 20 in Oldsmar.
Okay. So
it's the closest one to Clearwater you got.
So we could tell the Florida fans to be on the lookout for a rare Lanny Pafo sighting. There you go. There you go.
Yes, I hope I don't get in any trouble like Pee Wee Herman.
Wow.
Are we on the air?
Yes.
You're on the air.
Oh my God. Hey, okay. Name 2 people that got shot in the theater.
Lincoln.
Yes, and the guy sitting in front of Pee Wee Herman.
Oh
man. Yeah.
I'm ashamed of myself. You guys.
That's him all over.
Pee Wee's marching to a new adventure, right, these days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Small adventure.
So
what are we on are we on the radio or what are we on?
This is radio, Village Connection Radio, and it's worldwide. And we have Jimmy Farrow from Monty and the Farrow, and he's a big fan of yours. Any questions for Lanny Pafo?
Hi, Mr. Pafo. How you doing? Can you tell us about your experience making the film? Your part in it.
I thought it was very professional and polite. The whole experience was positive, and I only hope that I brought a grocery bag in case I don't do well in it. I'm going to wear the bag on the way out.
Yeah.
But it's a lot to do with the editing. You
did tremendous in it.
Yeah.
Hey, Lanny, I just wanted to thank you for allowing us to shoot at the family home. And, I'll never forget all the photos on the wall of your brother and your dad. And going to the site where your brother had the accident. I mean, that was really touching stuff, and it helps so much. And I think you'll be really proud of the movie, too. So thank you.
Well, I want to thank you guys for keeping my brother's memory alive.
Well, it's kind of hard to not do that.
That's right.
I know, but every little bit helps, in my opinion. And it gave my mother, survived him by 6 years, and it was comforting for her that he had impacted the lives of so many people.
Lanny, I gotta tell you, your brother, no one will ever forget him, man. Ever. I mean, this guy had such an impact on my youth. He still does to this day. I don't even comprehend him being gone. So I just love the guy, and I thank you for having a part in this film. And anything that can keep the pro wrestlers remembered with love and respect is something I'm on board with. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Randy and I were a little different about many aspects of life.
I believe, do your best and forget the rest. Randy said, you know, if you don't give your best every time, it's like you're being a pickpocket, or you know, you're stealing the fans' money.
Right.
They paid money to see you,
Right.
and he didn't care if it was Paducah, Kentucky, or Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
He gave you his best.
1,000,000,000%.
And nobody wanted a refund on the Macho Man.
Nope. No way. Not even close. One of the all-time greats.
Lanny, I have a tough question for you. We were talking earlier about Harley Race and who else?
Terry Funk.
Terry Funk being among the greatest of all time. You know, I know it's hard to distance yourself, but where do you rate your brother among the all-time greats?
Okay, that's a tough question, but here's what I have to say. Each of the people that you mentioned were in a class by themselves. So it's like subjective, not objective. Once you achieve these heights of a Terry Funk, a Harley Race, a Macho Man Randy Savage, etc., you know, then it's just let the argument begin. So the thing is, it's just nice to be remembered, and it's nice that we have, you know, videotape or network or whatever, YouTube, so we can enjoy some of the people in the past. My brother thought that Buddy Rogers versus Pat O'Connor in Comiskey Park was the best thing he had ever seen. And then when he got a chance to wrestle Ricky Steamboat, you know, it kind of ruined his life because he could never top it. You know, and he wanted to top it, and he never could. And that's the reason he wanted to end his career with Shawn Michaels.
Interesting.
And try to have a better match than he had with Steamboat, and then retire to the announcer's desk.
Wow.
But they said he was too old, and I feel sorry for the fans because they're the ones that lost out. I mean, maybe he couldn't have had a match as good as with Ricky Steamboat, but wouldn't you like to see him try?
You're basically telling me we got ripped off. That's what it feels like. We got ripped off, that we were denied that chance to see that.
Yeah, and if you know, and if you saw the Macho Man DVD, Pat Patterson just as well as admitted that he didn't want that because, you know, he was after a while he had nothing good to say about my dad or my brother, and when he started to say something nice, he damned them with faint praise. So watch that again for the first time, and I just hope I contributed to this fantastic movie, that this documentary. I want to be a positive something in it, you know.
Right.
And I know that you guys love this documentary. You put your heart and soul into it. I believe the fans owe it to you. If you ever loved wrestling, please support this film.
Amen.
Thank you, Lanny. And like I say, you did a tremendous job. And we're not just saying that. When you see it, you'll know that it's true. And tickets are selling out fast. 350daysthemovie.com or fathomevents.com. We've had people message that they're coming from the Fiji Islands to this movie. It's amazing the buzz we're getting. People coming to New York and Los Angeles. It's just amazing.
Well, yeah,
thank you again for being part of it.
Oldsmar, so I guess I'm nothing.
What was
It's
it?
10 minutes, you know. But anyway, so it's already doing a lot of pre-sales?
Yes, we are. Yes.
And what are your plans to market it afterwards?
Well, we're probably going to go into a theater. It's not going to be on DVD for a very, very long time. We're going to most likely go other countries and screen it because we're feeling the buzz in the air as we speak.
Okay, man. Good luck with that. And thanks for allowing me to be in it. And thanks for the editors not putting me on the delete button. You know?
No, you weren't on a cutting room floor, that's for sure.
That's for sure.
Well, that's the way it used to be, the cutting room floor. Now it's just delete. You know.
Well, thank you so much, Lanny. Really
thank you for being
appreciate
part of it. You really explained a lot of the subjects very well.
Thank you.
Thank you, genius.
Yeah, I just don't want to be. Look, I was listening to the trailer. You know, it ruined a lot of families being on the road. You know, there was about 1,000 wrestlers waiting by the phone, hoping you wouldn't make your shot. Plus, you know, I got friends from high school. Everyone that got married got divorced, and none of them wrestled. So you know, it's like, don't blame wrestling. Go in the mirror and look at yourself, and that's who you're blaming. Nobody held a gun to my head.
Yeah. Amen. There you go. Fulvio, you want to say something to Lanny?
No, Bob. I think he was very open and candid, just like everyone else. What I'll never forget was that giant poster you have of your dad right behind you. The Ripley's Believe It or Not, I think it was.
Yes.
Yeah, because visually it looks beautiful, and it was just great. I think you're going to really love it. And yeah, I remember you were pretty passionate about how, especially about the marriages, because so many of them didn't work, and how you can't really blame the industry on it. So it was very insightful. Thank you.
Yeah, but now I'm a no-no.
Why?
I'm an abuelo. I'm a no-no.
Why are you a no-no?
It's Italian for grandfather, and abuelo in Spanish for grandfather. I'm a grandfather now.
Okay.
So a lot of good came of the, even a failed marriage has some good stuff.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your grandchild, too. I'm sure you're having fun with that.
Yeah, he's 15 months old, and already, but he's not going to be a macho baby because this must all end.
I'm sure you got him shooting hoops, playing basketball already, I'm sure.
Wait a minute. Is he doing calculus? He could be the next genius.
Oh, yeah, right. That's like,
Knows to play basketball now.
That was one of the, that was not a true gimmick. That was like a joke. You know, it's like, the only thing I admit to is I really wrote the poetry. And, but,
Lanny,
above.
You have like an encyclopedic memory of like these really long poems that other people wrote. That requires, genius, I would think.
And by the way, he was an awesome heel. Can we get that in?
Oh,
Lenny Poffo was a great heel.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, I was trying to imitate Peter Sellers in the in the Pink Panther movie.
Is that your dog?
Pink Panther.
Yeah, I told. Of course, you idiot. Everything I do is carefully planned. I was only testing you. You know, trying to have dignity when he didn't have any. So, anyway, the thing is, I believe that there's nothing like cheap heat. By the way, Evan, did you know that I had done some work for Ring of Honor?
I had heard, somebody mentioned. That's great. Ring of Honor is tremendous wrestling, yeah.
Yeah, look at go on video, look at Being the Elite. I'm in episode 101, the premiere.
Young Bucks.
And I tell you what, those guys are fantastic.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
The Young Bucks and of course Jay Lethal. You know, my brother loves him, man. He enjoyed watching him do the Black Machismo.
Oh,
the Macho Man gimmick he did good. The Machismo,
and Flair too. Flair too.
Jay Lethal's a tremendous wrestler. Tremendous.
Great.
Oh yeah. And anyway, this is great. I'm glad you guys are. You got a good buzz going. You know, everybody's. Wherever I go, people are asking me about the movie, so
awesome.
You know, that's got to be a good thing.
Awesome.
It's great.
Lanny, thank you so much for the promotion and for helping and being part of it. We can't thank you enough.
Okay, and it's my pleasure to be in it. You know, I'm going to be 64 years old in December, and this is definitely something that's going to keep me young.
There you go.
So thank you so much.
Okay, and Lanny, plug your website real quick.
GeniusLannyPoffo.com. That's GeniusLannyPoffo.com, and right on the cover is my Hall of Fame speech that I gave in 2015 for the Macho Man, inducting him into the Hall of Fame.
There you go.
That's great. Beautiful thing.
Thank you, Lanny. Thanks so much. See you soon.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
All right. Shalom.
You too. Okay.
Boy.
So, folks, that'll about do it for the 350 Days press conference. For tickets, fathomevents.com/350 days. Also visit the website, 350daysthemovie.com. And Fulvio, anything else you want to tell the viewers, the listeners, about the Hollywood premiere?
Stay tuned for even more guests. It's gonna be a huge event. There's gonna be a lot of press. But I'd like to point out and stress that you don't have to be a wrestling fan to like this movie. So to tell your friends about it, your family, this is for people that don't know anything about wrestling. Wrestling fans lived through this. They love it. It's going to be nostalgic. They're gonna just freak because it's got all their heroes. But people that don't know anything about wrestling, that's who should be watching this movie, because I think they'll be just dumbfounded. They won't believe it, really.
Yeah, they'll be moved by it. I agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Anyway, that'll about do it. We want to thank Jim Savali, Jimmy Farrow from Monty and the Farrow. Plug your show one more time, Jimmy.
That's Thursdays at 8:05 on Village Connection /Facebook Live, Monty and the Farrow, 8:05 to 9 p.m.
David Wilkins taking a rare night off from training in the desert with tarantula on his head. David Wilkins, executive producer. Darren Antola, executive producer. Fulvio Cesare, executive producer and director. Yours truly, associate producer. Jim Savali, VillageConnectionRadio.com. What's going on at Village Connection, Jim?
Everything. We
40 plus shows?
We're up to 30.
30
shows.
30 shows.
Yes.
And growing.
My math was never good.
Well, we'll have 40.
Okay.
Then you can ask me again.
Okay. So what's new at Village Connection?
Well, what's new? We have a bunch of new shows starting for the summer. They'll be announced later this week.
Okay.
About 5 of them. We have the return of a great show on Thursday. Monty and the Farrow, who took a little vacation last week. I think they went down to the islands or something like that.
Yeah, we were out
And, of course, we always have our flagship, Evan Ginzburg, who's been with me for a very long time.
Yeah, over a year now.
Yep.
Yeah, the other day we had reggae singers, jazz players, blues players, poets. Yeah, it was jumping.
I felt like I was in someplace in the city somewhere down the village.
That's right. And the next 2 shows, my show is Sundays 11 a.m. are all wrestling. So Jimmy, Monty and the Farrow, please. You're coming down the 8th, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Okay, great. And that'll about do it.
And
so
can I thank everyone here for doing this movie?
Thank you.
And for caring about the stuff I care about so much, these wrestlers.
You were getting emotional before.
Yeah, I know.
I saw that. Yeah.
The meds didn't come in from Kansas.
No.
It's so annoying when they're late. So we can do.
All right, guys, I'm going to play the trailer.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right, thank you,
Thanks,
folks.
guys. Appreciate it.
350 days a year as a wrestler on the road. Maybe it's a sickness.
350 days a year.
A lot of physical pain, a lot of loneliness.
You have no home life whatsoever.
Piper and me riding down the road, doing 8 balls of cocaine. I'm sure it broke up marriages.
How many guys in the wrestling business have a family left when they're done? Most of them lose it.
I couldn't have children. I couldn't put them on a turnbuckle while Mommy worked.
I look forward to it, bro. You know why? Because I love it so much. It's in my heart.
When you're famous, you don't have to go look for trouble. Trouble comes knocking on your door.
I hit the bars, and that was my character. Sitting in a room with a bunch of wrestlers doing cocaine, we really got to know each other.
I would take a lot of downers, and I did have problems with the downers.
I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I was not a faithful husband from the first day for the whole time on the road. I lived a double life.
I needed it. It was like, I'm not getting the love I needed home.
Would I do? Oh my God, I am afraid to say I would do it again.
I wouldn't change a thing.
No regrets. I loved everything I did. I actually wish I could do it all over again.
Well, I want to tell you, to make some big money in wrestling, you had to wrestle every night of the week, $30 every day. So you had to wrestle 6 and 7 times every week just to earn your money.
350 days on the road with wrestlers, a living hell.